Amy Weirich is the Attorney General. That means she's the boss of all the other attorneys downtown. The Shelby County DA, and she joins us from time to time to discuss the issues of the day. And boy, are there issues of the day. Good to see you as always. You look very nice and relaxed and taller, I think, for some reason. Yes.
I don't know.
You may have grown. I'm not sure, but you and Kyle just talked for a minute, and we just talked off the air about the situation, and that we're all out of questions, not out of answers. But I mean, the events of the past weekend, and what you see in your office every day as far as crime in this town is becoming kind of paralyzing and very disconcerting to everybody involved. You and the mayor, not the least of it. I mean, it's just, this has to be a very challenging time for you and your people.
It is. And, you know, much to the mayor's point and to what we continue to say, there is a plan. We've got a plan in place. What we need right now, however, is community engagement and everybody understanding that this is not going to be fixed on the shoulders of anybody at City Hall or the shoulders of anybody at 201 Poplar. It's got to start in the neighborhoods, in the sidewalks, in the living rooms, in the classrooms, and that's where we'll see real change.
How do you sell this concept to a city this size, with a history like it has, and with a problem that has spiraled out of control? I mean, is it churches to help? Is it, you know, what can people do as a community to get a grip on this? This is about, you know, poverty and no education and no parenting and a lack of love and support from day one that turns these people into, they've got no conscience, they have no guilt mechanism, they just are out of control. And until it, you know, boils over into what happened this past weekend, we take it as the norm.
We do, and there's, you know, all of the things you mentioned, yes, those are some of the voids that we see. One of the other great holes that I think we have to figure out how to fill is a lot of people don't know where to turn for help.
Yeah.
They may be dealing with a child who has drug issues. They may be dealing with a child with mental health issues and don't know where to go. So the more that we downtown can help people learn where to turn, learn how to reach out for help. We are blessed in this community to have a very rich faith-based partners and others who spend all day, every day doing the right thing for the right reason. But oftentimes we miss by not being able to connect those greatest in need with those services.
I don't know how you do that, you know, and we're in summertime now, and school's out, and crime often goes up in the summer months, but the MPD can only do so much, and this falls on I don't know whose shoulders, but it certainly is becoming harder and harder to put a positive spin on the things that deserve our attention and our optimism.
We've been,
this drags it down again.
It does, and of course we have to, you know, as Kyle said and as we've all said, no matter what kind of bad days we're having, it doesn't compare to what the family of Officer Smith is going through, and the lives that he touched.
Can't imagine.
And the hole that that puts in the police department and throughout this community. And if we can put all of that on a shelf for a little bit and remember that before January 1, we were seeing our crime rate going in the right direction. We've kind of lost sight of that because something bad happened on January 1 and we can't seem to catch our breath from that. But we've been spending a lot of time lately getting ready for Operation Safe Community 3, the plan to fight crime that the Crime Commission shoulders, you know, every 5 years or so. And a big chunk of what we've been talking about and what that plan will focus on is, of course, violent crime and, of course, community engagement. That we've got to get out of this mindset of everybody just sitting on their porch and watching it happen. We've got to get the community to the point where they're engaged in making change.
So what do you do in specific with this operation?
Well, Operation Safe Community will be a strategy. It will have different components to it. It will be shorter, leaner, and meaner than the last Operation Safe Community 2 plan. Operation Safe Community reduced our violent crime by 27%. It's a big reason why we've seen our property crime continue to go down over the years. But what it does is it engages the government and the private industries in tackling crime. And one of the missions of the Crime Commission or the Operation Safe Community was creating a family safety center, a one-stop place for victims of domestic violence. So we've done that. Let's continue to grow that. Reducing gang crime. The reason we've got gang injunctions that we have filed in various communities is because that's a strategy of Operation Safe Community. So Operation Safe Community 3 will focus much more narrowly on violent crime. What can we do to reduce aggravated assault? Because that's what we know spikes our homicide rate. We often cannot stop that first shot that sends somebody to the hospital, but we can maybe with the right law enforcement and the right intervention stop that second shot when somebody goes out to do their own justice and there's a homicide that occurs. But it involves bringing the community in and getting neighborhoods engaged. Go out and find out who your colonel is at your precinct. Find out who your city councilman is and your county commissioner is, and build a relationship with them. Just get to know them so that everybody is talking together and that we get out of, as everyone likes to say, our silos.
Just hiding behind the front door. This issue last week that came up, as you mentioned that, this gang injunction thing that we discussed with you, I guess, last year. And somebody had the guts to challenge that in a court of law as being, what was that all about? That just blew my mind that somebody had the...
Come hang out at the courthouse for a while. You'd have a lot of things blow your mind. So
why would they challenge that as being not part of the... It was illegal to tell them who they can hang out with and where.
Well, they were doing their job as defense attorneys, and we were prepared for that. Those types of challenges had been made across the country in other jurisdictions that have used gang injunctions. So we were ready for that. Fortunately, Judge Potter analyzed the law and ruled in our favor that these gang injunctions are working. We had a board meeting yesterday of the multi-agency gang unit and saw the crime numbers in these safety zones. And it's almost unbelievable when you look at how crime has been reduced in these safety zones. And a lot of that has to do with the community
focusing on the thing
and gaining trust with law enforcement and working with law enforcement to solve the problem.
So are the officers more focused in these specific areas when they designate them to be the problem spots?
Initially they are. When we file those gang injunctions and we have a press conference and we throw the podium back in the car and go back downtown, for the days and weeks and months after that, there is an increased presence by law enforcement. But let's not fool ourselves. We've got an understaffed Memphis Police Department right now. We're blessed with the multi-agency gang unit to have sheriff and federal authorities that help out with that. But a lot of this success is because the community is stepping up and saying, we own this too. Right. We had it. We own this problem, and we're going to work with those that are trying to help us to make this better.
Yeah, you see them on TV in the aftermath of some of these horrible disasters, and people that live in these parts of town, they've had enough of this too.
Sure.
And maybe that is the turning point. If enough people are sick of seeing this go on, that they take some action and try to help in some way just by unifying their street or their area and doing something about this. Shelby County DA Amy Weirich is our guest discussing this endless discussion that we just can't get away from. But Bill Gibbons is coming back, a man that you have known very well, and it was in your job before you were. What is Bill going to be doing when he gets back here? This begins in August, I believe. Is something new being formed to help fight this fight? What is Bill going to be doing?
So there's an old piece and a new piece to this. The old piece is that he is going to be running the Memphis Shelby Crime Commission. We have had an interim individual in there. Rick Masson was running the Crime Commission for us on an interim basis. We've been searching for somebody, and so that plate was spinning at the same time that the University of Memphis was very interested in creating a public safety institute, a corner of the University of Memphis that would focus on all of these things that we're talking about: crime prevention, intervention, suppression, best practices. What can we learn from other cities? What's working here? What's not working here? And so General Gibbons, Commissioner Gibbons, will be chairing that Public Safety Institute. So he'll be an employee of the University of Memphis, and he'll also be an employee of the Crime Commission, and he'll be helping all of us and the entire community in this fight that we have. We've done some good things over the years. We've had some successes. It's hard to talk about those, though, on a Tuesday morning after we've lost an officer or after we've had the violence that we've had. But he's going to help us make sure that the initiatives and the programs and the work that we're spending a lot of energy doing make us understand if it's having an impact, and if it's not, go back to the drawing board and figure out what we need
Who's
to
he
do.
gonna? Who will he work with directly every day? You, the mayor, Mr. Rawlings,
All of us.
whomever, everybody that's involved.
Exactly. So the Crime Commission is a 50-member board of 25 private sector, 25 government sector. Both of the mayors serve on the Crime Commission. I chair Operation Safe Community. Blair Taylor with Memphis Tomorrow is a part of that. Ben Adams, partner at Baker Donaldson. There are many known. Senator Norris is a part of the Crime Commission. So yes, he will be working with all of us and helping us specifically quarterback this Operation Safe Community 3 plan, get that working, and then also long term, what do we need to be working on 5, 10, 15 years down the road to get us off of those lists?
That's very
quite
encouraging.
frankly.
And it seems like that these people that are complaining about there is no plan have just been told, yes, there is a plan.
There is a plan.
And yesterday, some of these people ask, Jim some dumb questions about his plan. They're not paying attention. This is a very complicated issue with many moving parts, but having Bill back in the fold, I think, will maybe help and just add one more piece to
Sure.
the arsenal, and that's what has to be done to accomplish this.
It is, and I think one of the things that we have a responsibility to do is make sure that the plan is easy to digest so that it becomes second nature for citizens in the community to talk about the plan and to know.
Not be scared and be
Right.
more aggressive.
Right.
There's a difference, you have to do something and just stop talking about it.
That's right.
On a different note that we discussed with Ms. Weirich some time back, has been an ongoing issue in this town, as it is in many places in America. And we're all getting tired of hearing that too, because we live here and our concerns are here, not everywhere else, but nonetheless, that is the fact. Truancy in this town has been one of the issues that you've tackled for the past, I don't know how many years, but I heard this story on NPR some time back, and I thought, I got to get this story to Amy. It was about Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, you wouldn't think that Grand Rapids, Michigan would share some of the same issues that we do in this town, which I don't know why I would assume that. But they have 17,000 kids in their school system up there. Out of that group, 7,000 of them missed a month or more of school every year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have bigger numbers than that in the system, and likely, more. It's just it is a disparate number, but they're a smaller town than us, and so on and so forth. But these people had it, and they organized the entire community, and they fixed this problem, and they set the bar to like not missing more than 5 days of school every year, and it worked.
There's that word again, community.
How did they pull this off?
Just by that, by first of all having somebody that worked in the school system who went to work every day, focused on making sure every kid was in school. And so
They got businesses involved, they got the police involved. It was called Challenge 5.
Yep.
And they put signs in windows, less than 5, strive for 5, and everybody in this town got on board. And they saw results almost immediately.
They did. And the other piece to it, if I recall correctly, was that outside of every school, there's a running tally, basically, of how that school is doing on their attendance. So there's a little bit of shaming among the principals. There's
And
a little bit
competition.
of competition,
Yeah.
healthy competition, which is all very good. And this is something Superintendent Hobson and I and many others in the community, from the health department through law enforcement, tackle. In fact, when you sent me that article, I was in a meeting as we were reviewing the numbers from this last school year and preparing for the 2016-2017 school year. Yes, we've reduced the number of students in our school system that have chronic absenteeism, but we've got a lot of work to do. And what the superintendent and I are committed to doing is coming up with a number, whatever the statisticians tell us that goal needs to be to move the needle, and that our goal, school system and law enforcement and the entire community, is going to be for this next school year, we're reducing chronic absenteeism by this number, and everybody's going to have to get on board to help us. The juxtaposition of that is Saturday morning we gave out our bikes for the kids with all the perfect attendance.
Great story.
Oh, it's the best. And it was 255 kids. We had a girl, we've been doing the program with the bikes for 3 years. I had a girl come up and pick out her bike, and I was hugging her and thanking her and congratulating her, and she very quietly and very shyly said, This is my third bike. I said, what do you mean it's your third bike? She said, every year that you've done this, I've won a bike. She said, perfect attendance for 3 years in a row. There's great stories like that. There were siblings, there were twins, there were family members who every year have been there celebrating. There were kids that not only have perfect attendance, but are honor roll students. These are the kids that are every day making the right decisions.
Incentives.
Right.
They're not bribes. They're
Bribes is a bad word.
Yeah, oh, I know, but
Yes.
it's just, but it's you know, it just takes something like that to get their attention, for God's sake.
Yeah, and the
But
smiles
whatever it
on-
takes, yeah, but this program, I thought, and didn't I see where there was an attempt at a meeting again the last day of school, and again, no one showed up, not to bring up bad news, but just to reinforce to people that they're just not paying attention.
One parent showed up.
Out of how many who were asked to be there?
Oh,
It was 107 the first time.
right.
Back
So
in March.
a little less than 107, but not much less because we've not had great success.
So how do you put your foot up there behind and get their attention?
Well, I guess we continue to use the big hammer. You know, we like to use often the carrot and the stick, but some people leave us no choice but to use the stick. And so we'll have to get back to the drawing board and reevaluate and figure out what to do, because at the end of the day, as I've said a million times, I just want your kid to go to school. That's all I'm asking.
It's not that hard.
Right.
It isn't that hard. But it is one more thing that this town does face. But this model from, Grand Rapids, of all places, I thought was a really encouraging sign that this can be done if the right people put their heads together and make it happen.
If the right people and if the community is involved, because that's what made that work.
That just seems to be the never-ending thing that we always come back to. And this town is very fragmented in various ways, but there has to be a way to unify these people, be it through churches or through whatever. But something's got to give around here.
Well,
and
yep.
it's you feel this kind of this crisis point looming.
If the number of homicides that we've had this year doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will.
How do we put a good spin on this for tourism and for downtown and for guys like Kevin Kane, who I'm sure is pulling his hair out as he watches this nonsense go on.
Sure.
We've got to figure out a way to stop all this negativity, but it's kind of hard to put a blanket on it when it just won't go away.
It's when you look at the data, the downtown precinct is typically month after month the safest precinct in the city of Memphis. Now, again, it's hard to say all of these things in the days following the tragedy on Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what the data shows us, is that is a very safe place to be. So we certainly don't want people to feel afraid or discouraged from enjoying what we offer in the downtown Memphis area, but no matter where you are in this world,
Yep.
pay attention to your surroundings.
Exactly. It isn't that hard. What is your take on Mr. Harrington's juvenile rehab plan that the county commission is backing? This seems well-intentioned. They're going to fund, I'm not sure what this is exactly, but the former mayor plans to provide places for these kids to come and to rehab and to grow up and get a grip.
So right now, if a child is sentenced to custody, juvenile custody, there is not a residential facility locally. So they are shipped somewhere else in the state. And I believe in some instances the Department of Children's Services may ship them to other states. And so the concept behind what Mayor Harrington is proposing is, let's keep these kids here locally so that they can continue to have contact with their parents, with their family, and not be completely separated from them
Right.
while they are getting the services and the rehabilitation that the juvenile system is created to provide for them. So conceptually, I think it's a great idea. I don't have many of the details. The first I heard of it was reading about it this morning in the paper. So.
Well, there's no shortage of people trying to do the right thing, is there?
That's right.
I mean, you've got a bunch of people trying to unify this place and do the right thing, from Mr. Harrington and Mr. Gibbons, to the mayor, to you. I mean, maybe we're on the right track. Let's just hope that is the fact.
Let's hope, and I think we've got many, many people who wake up every day committed to fighting this dragon, and we're going to continue to do that, but it's going to take time to see the results.
Well, I guess we'll sit here and keep talking about it until we get somebody's attention, or at least get on their nerves.
That's right.
But but that's just tough.
One or the other.
Amy Weirich, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
We
you.
will see you again soon. We'll be back in just a moment.